Mary, this is my first way station that I did. And this was planted in July of 2020, and it was probably the hottest day of the year. Oh, I had some extra help down here, and they were just like, yeah, she's lost her mind again. But
How did you pick this spot?
this was where I had bales before and pumpkins and squash, and as I got older, I didn't need all that work. So we tilled this area up, got rid of the bales, worked it up real well, put some fertilizer in, and I use an organic fertilizer. And then we laid the weed mat down, the weed suppressant mat. And then we used a circle saw to cut the holes. So all the holes were already cut, and away we went with the planting.
How long did you wait from the time that it was tilled until you put the mat down and then started the planting project?
I would say a relatively short amount of time. We got it tilled, laid the blanket down, and then got the plants. The reason why is I didn't want any weed growth. So that's why I put the blanket down right away. I'm all about no weeds.
How did you know how close to space the plants?
That was about a plant every square foot.
And the plants that you picked, all flowers?
No, a lot of grasses, milkweeds, and flowers. As you can see out here, there's quite a variety of plants out here.
How did you know what to plant where for heights and stuff like that?
I didn't get nervous about that. They just got planted. You can see that there's some taller grasses towards the end and towards this end, and it's just a variety. Monarchs aren't fussy. They land wherever they want.
How did you water?
I use soaker hoses. I call them a black Uzi soaker hose, and then I laid them out, and I always staple the hose down with these wire staples that we use for other laying the blanket down, so that the hoses were in place. I didn't have to keep moving them.
Well, then there's my next question. What is this weed mat that you used?
Okay, this is a weed mat that's made in northern Minnesota. So for me, that's even a bigger plus that I'm using a product made in Minnesota. And it's a 95% wood in this product. And then there's some organic materials and some tackifier to hold this wood in place. This weed mat is going to be here forever. I will never take it up. So it's helping to keep the moisture in for these native plants for as long as the weed mat's there. And it's been here 3 years, and you can see that it's doing really well. But there's no traffic on it. This was out in a garden, which I use it for gardening. You're walking on it and tending to have more wear and tear. But here, it's there for the long haul. The rolls are 5 feet by 50 feet. And they're real easy to lay out. And there again, I just use the staples to hold them down, because you have to staple it down because our wonderful wind would take it all over the place. This is 3 years, and I'm thinking this is probably going to make another 3-4 years. The native plants just keep getting bigger and bigger, and so they don't have a lot of competition from the weeds, and that's what I like.
How did you pick the plants for spring bloom and summer bloom and fall?
There again, it was the plants that I got from Morning Sky Greenery, and it seems like there's something blooming here all the time. So she did a good job.
So have you noticed more monarchs around?
Oh yes, and even my granddaughter will drive down here and she'll see the butterflies, and that's fun to have young people realize that they're important too. And of course, this is going to benefit the bees also. So it's really a dual purpose, but it's not called a bee way station, it's monarch way station, but it's good for bees too, and we need that.
Vicki, this is kind of a fall time, and you have so many beautiful plants that are blooming now. But I noticed that you have one of my favorites, and this is Anise hyssop. And the smell on this, if I were a monarch, I'd be sitting on this one all the time. It's so beautiful. And then you've got the goldenrods that are blooming now, and some of the black-eyed Susans. And then I see you actually even have coneflower here too.
Yep. It's just like a picture all the time. The picture keeps changing, when you come down here as to what's blooming. So, and I think that's fun for me and fun for anybody that's driving by, you know, to see what's blooming.
I think that those are so nice left because the birds like the seeds out of those so much too.
Everything gets left here for the winter. And last winter, I was really keeping an eye on this, and this area here stopped so much snow, and which was great because then when it melted, it went right through the weed mat. Nice thing about this weed mat is it's going to let the water soak right through it. It's not like some people will use plastic in their gardens. Well, the water doesn't get to penetrate through that. So this is what another big feature along with stopping the weeds. It helps hold the moisture in.
So then how much weeding do you do here in this patch?
I do very little. You know, if I were to see a thistle, it would be gone. But I haven't had any thistles here. But there's weeds out here, and it's part of the prairie, you know, so. And not all weeds are bad either. You know, people consider milkweed a weed. Well, I have them growing in my perennial gardens, which I'm sure my dad would say, really? But I just feel it's important to have them around.
Do you ever have people question you as to why do you have that patch there that looks so wild?
No, because they know I'm kind of different when it comes to gardening.
Using the natives is different from having your beautiful beds up by your house, too.
Yes, and this is probably the hard part for me because I don't like to see weeds. And when I get down here and I see weeds, I just got to let it go because this is native. This isn't a tended perennial bed. So, you know, if they got really invasive, I would start pulling them. But as of right now, I just kind of let them go.
Do you have to worry about them moving to other locations sometimes?
I think the perennials will reseed themselves in different places. It's just like in your garden. I've got a lily that's growing that I never planted, so who knows how it landed there. I don't know, bird or whatever, and I think that's the way with natives too.
Do you have to have kind of a different mindset?
Yep, because when I plant this, it's pretty much on its own. So that's the nice part for me, that I don't have to weed it. And I haven't watered this all year, this one. But it had all that snow, and like I say, when we do get rain, it soaks it all up. The thing is, when you plant something and that sun can beat down and get to the roots, well, because of the weed mat, the sun can't get to the roots. That's protecting it too. It's like shading it. And here again, everything is so tall that it shades. So it always dries out from the roots. So if you leave everything tall, it's shading it.
Well, now it looks to me like you've created a whole nother area too. Tell me about that.
That was the second area where I had the squash and the pumpkins, and I decided I don't need that anymore. It was just getting too much work and all the vines, and I thought, I'm just waiting for a chance to trip and fall, because everything's slanted here, which is another good aspect for these native monarch way stations. You want good drainage. So we're sitting on a slope here, so that's a good thing too. So you don't want the natives standing in water. You wouldn't want to plant it in a low spot, because if you and I stood in water all day, we wouldn't be happy either, or our feet wouldn't be. So when I took all those bales out, then we tilled that up and then laid the weed mat and started the process all over again.
Did you pick the same plants as you had the first time, or did you pick some different?
I think there are a little, maybe a few more grasses this time. So, but pretty much basic the same.
Is there a time that you recommend for planting?
Well, July was hot that year. That was kind of tough. And then the second one I planted in October of last year, and the plants were small and they didn't do so well. So I ended up replanting this August. So, but the holes were there and everything, so it was pretty simple to plant. It just takes time.
When you said that it was really hot, so it was a little hard, was that hard on the plants, or just you as a person having to plant in all that heat?
I think it was hard on the people planting.
Okay.
But I got the water to them right away. That's the key. When it's hot, you've got to get water to them. And you just got to let it soak for a long time.